Good morning, everybody. Coming up on today's wrestling news, I've got an update on Sting potentially wrestling for AEW.
Plus, what it would take for CM Punk to get back in a wrestling ring. I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
2 stories today. Remember the days of us covering like 8 or 9 of these goddamn things in a morning? Let's just get on with it. We're going to talk a little bit about Sting, first of all. A report here from Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated, offering some new insight on the situation with Sting. Obviously, when he debuted at Winter Is Coming, a lot of people were immediately thinking, well, is he going to wrestle? You know, he's 61 years old. He had that horrible injury versus Seth the Chef Rollins a few years ago. That might be some risky business. Apparently, AEW's belief at the moment is that Sting will wrestle, although we shouldn't expect him to compete on a weekly basis on Dynamite, of course. Barrasso writes that AEW primarily want to use Sting's big name, his legendary reputation in professional wrestling, to leverage, to help get other people over, to use that as a rub for people who aren't as famous as him, which is, I mean, basically everyone in the company that isn't Chris Jericho. And even that's arguable. Noting here, like, you know, they might use him in cinematic matches, they might use him in tag matches, as well as, and this is a direct quote, carefully designed spots that allow Sting to shine while also building those around him into even bigger stars. So in other words, putting some disrespectful young Punk in the Scorpion Deathlock. So it sounds very much like what a lot of people were talking about last week. You know, eagle-eyed internet users discovered last week that Sting is listed on AEW's roster page. He has a record in everything on the official website, whereas a guy like Taz, who is also a manager, has not. He's not there. So that was a sign that Sting might wrestle. This is another one. It looks like we're going to get something from him. It'll be interesting to see what comes of this. Whatever they do is going to be ridiculously protected, right? It's going to be, they're going to handle the guy with kid gloves, not made of real kids, obviously. Shout outs to the reference. But they're going to be as careful as humanly possible. The guy is 61, like we said, been doing this a long time, had some bad neck injuries in particular. You got to be careful with a guy like Sting, but I trust them to do so. Let's see what comes of this. I'm not a big cinematic match guy, personally. Maybe you are. Maybe that's something you want to see. Maybe we'll just get a tag team match where Sting doesn't tag into the end. He just, you know, beats someone up, punches them up, and then puts them in the Scorpion Deathlock. That might work. Just don't take any crazy bumps.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen, like you say, with people spotting the record last week. And I mean, let's not forget, I mentioned this at the time, Bret Hart won a title in 2010 when he couldn't wrestle, so I was not expecting them to just have Sting there as a mouthpiece or whatever. Like you say, may well be limited, maybe it'll be in some sort of tag match, like you said, a cinematic match. I know he said, or he's mentioned in the past, that he was quite open to a cinematic match against The Undertaker, according to reports, and just Vince wasn't very keen on it, because Vince is an idiot. Yeah, I think this is exactly what you would expect. I'm not saying he's going to go through and run a gauntlet or anything like that. Or, yeah, like you say, be wrestling on TV. But I can very easily see them building for months on end to him finally deciding, you know what, maybe I do have to finally step in between those ropes and sort you out. I don't know, MJF, because you're leading a gaggle of bastards, and I've got history with those sorts of things. I'm gonna stand up in the rafters for a bit, make some space, Darby Allin. But I'm excited, and I'm kind of glad in a way, so long as they handle this well. And like you say, they don't say, so do a Spanish fly, and then we'll do moonsault to the floor. You know, within reason. I think we all wanted to see one more match from Sting, just because you know, the way the match he went out on, understandably, by the way, because he obviously got injured, as you alluded to, Andy, and it looked like he would never wrestle again. I think we want one more thing to just finally appreciate, oh, this is Sting's last match, and hopefully can get some sort of good match out of it. Like you say, whether or not it's cinematic, we don't know. But speaking of returning to the ring, CM Punk was a guest on Renee Paquette's Oral Sessions podcast. Genuinely, one of the best podcasts out there that isn't ours, to talk about all kinds of stuff. But specifically, people want to know if he's going to get back in a wrestling ring. It was my prediction for 2020, and there's still time. There's still time. And he revealed Basically, what it would take, saying, without wanting to insult anyone on either side of the fence, any WWE talent or any AEW talent, it would take, above all, an interesting scenario and a story that would be fun to tell, he continued. Also, the stupidest amount of money, but they could just save themselves a lot of money if they just presented, like, a fun storyline. At least he's honest, Andy. Boatload of money, and yeah, some good creative. So I guess that rules WWE out 50% of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's indeed very refreshing to hear a wrestler go, yeah, I mean, just give me loads of money and I'll do it. A lot of people will never say that. No, man, I'm waiting for the right opportunity and stuff. Fair play to CM Punk. Earned a little bit of respect for him there. I like that. Yeah, I mean, we go around this roundabout like 7 or 8 times a year, don't we? Every time there's a slight hint. But, you know, in the past year or so, he has seen a bit more open to the prospect of working again. I'd still be amazed if we saw it. I think that we'll be talking about this kind of stuff until the day the guy is no longer physically capable of stepping into a ring. But, you know, it's CM Punk. The man opens his mouth and people like us come on YouTube and talk about it. So there we are.
You know what my prediction is? I'm gonna say this year doesn't count because, well, it doesn't because the ongoing global bastard. So I'm gonna roll over my prediction to 2021. You will see CM Punk wrestling next year. And as I always say, Andy, when have I ever been wrong with my predictions?
Literally never.
Thank you. Right, let's move on to our Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Zacharia Aguila, who says, now that Impact and AEW are working together, yes, if you're thinking, why haven't we covered that, by the way, Phil did last night, go and check out that video. Could you see multiple Impact wrestlers showing up on Dynamite to have segments and matches together? Sweet DK sort of backhanding, going, oh, you've got a tag division here, haven't you? I sense if I was someone like the Good Brothers, I might want to have a word about that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as full on as perhaps a lot of people might have expected after what happened last week. I would be inclined to believe the reports that have come out over the past few days where, you know, we might not get a full-on inter-promotional war, but we might get the odd match here and there, maybe the Good Brothers coming over. They were named specifically in one of these reports. I suspect we'll see a few bits and pieces here and there. I don't think we're going to get like a full-on supercard or anything. I'd love to be wrong about that, but my gut is telling me that, yeah, we might get the Good Brothers coming over. I suspect Kenny Omega will wrestle Rich Swann after the teases last night. Those were pretty overt. I'd like to see someone like Jon Moxley versus Sami Callihan as well. I'd also love to see some of the great women from the Impact Wrestling Women's Division come over, the Deonna Purrazzo's, the Jordan Graces, the Sue Youngs. I'd love to see them mixing it up in AEW as well. I don't think we're going to get all of that, though. Just a few choice cuts.
Moose, Moose, obviously, and just give me Motor City Machine Guns in AEW, please. I'll be good for the rest of the year. Right, second question today comes from Mad Pancakes on Twitter. He says, with the Royal Rumble coming up, could you see a surprise return of John Cena? But as he's encountered The Fiend recently, who is known to change people, John returns as a massive heel. This brings us something new that the fans have always wanted. Thoughts? I love this. I love Mad Pancakes questions because they don't hold back. A heel John Cena at the Royal Rumble, Andy. What do you reckon?
Man, I think that's kind of like the idea. If you're going to use John Cena going forward, right, the ideal scenario is a heel. Because you look at the Firefly Funhouse match, that deconstruction of everything everyone doesn't like about John Cena, and think, how the hell can he come back as like this pink t-shirt, bright green towel guy who goes, never give up, and all this stuff. It would seem impossible. But I think that if you were going to turn John Cena heel, I'm not too sure there's much value doing it now when it's clear he's only going to appear like once or twice a year at max. I'm not sure what kind of money you're getting out of that. If you're able to use him on a more regular basis, if you're able to use John Cena, say, from the Royal Rumble in the build to WrestleMania, I think that this would be tremendous. And you could work a full program and then use that heel Cena that people have been yearning for years to put somebody over. But if he's just going to show up in the Rumble and then like one more time by the end of the year, I don't know if there's much point in it.
Unless, Andy, it's NWO John Cena.
Never rule out.
This is where the bad boys can't see me. Look at the adjective. See. I don't know. Something like that.
What are you on about? Oh, brother.
Final question comes from Big Joe 83, who says, "Hi guys, back in the mid-noughties, I was a big fan of Teddy Long as GM player." He didn't say the player part. I thought he brought balance to SmackDown, as does William Regal for NXT. Do you think Raw or SmackDown need that now, or either lost without a resident GM? Sort of neglecting Postman Pierce there, Andy.
Postman Pierce. Da, 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 da. I think that wrestling television in general needs more Teddy Long and less authority figures. Authority figures stink. To hell with them all. They all suck. William Regal is really good in his role on NXT, but the role itself is needless. It stinks. I don't want it anywhere near my professional wrestling. I love Teddy Long. He's bloody awesome. One-on-one with The Undertaker. We're going to have a six-man tag, all that stuff. The dance, everything. Teddy Long is class. He's tremendous. But authority figures need to be consigned to that dumpster right outside Adam Cleary's bathroom window over there, set ablaze, filled with petrol so that it never goes out and never brought back. To hell with them all. Adam Pearce, I'm sure, is a lovely guy, but screw that role. Have I made my opinion on this topic clear enough? I don't know.
Unless we get Billy Bloody Kay as the assistant GM, in which case, make it happen on SmackDown. Right, let's move on to today's, and finally, we've talked a fair bit about Impact, about AEW. We've neglected to talk about NXT, and the three-time NXT North American champion really enjoyed that match at TakeOver War Games. Johnny Gargano just is a knobhead. He's going to be unbearable tonight, and I can't wait for it. He tweeted last night, "I told you I love making history, so maybe there is no curse. I just lost the title on purpose so I could win it right back, break my own record, and become the first ever three-time North American champion. I'm playing 4D chess, baby. Hashtag Johnny Big Brain." Big boy, he's using his big boy brain, Andy.
This Gargano heel character is obviously tremendous. So good match at TakeOver. I thought they played the character dynamics really well. Looking forward to see who is next in his army of screams as well.
Yes.
There's a few of them. Austin Theory, maybe not, but there we go.
The Garganos. I mean, they should open the show really tonight. I know, obviously, Candice. Well, they both took a trip to the ER after the show. Hopefully Candice has recovered, or is on her way to recovering. Looked like a horrible injury she suffered. But even so, with one arm coming out and just boasting about what they managed to achieve, it would have been nice to have Pat McAfee there as well, just joining in with all that. But that's okay, because Undisputed Era are fine, Andy. They're definitely not going to split soon. They're definitely not going to completely implode in months' time. I don't know. But yeah, can't wait to see that tonight. Do let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on your iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dudley Boys sitting down later on today to review everything that went down on Impact Wrestling and to look ahead to tonight's episodes of Dynamite and NXT. Huge sort of, well, both kind of post-pay-per-view Fallout episodes, so lots to discuss there. You can also let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H today stands for happy birthday to Steve Dunn, tag team partner of Timothy Well. The tag team name, Well Done. Wrestling was a simpler time back in the day.
Those were the days. Follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.